I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And we're the insiders. So, Scott, the Marquette poll comes out, and Donald Trump is at 44%. And, I don't think it looks too good. I mean, he's at a very low base, and for an incumbent who's less than 6 months from the election, doesn't look it. What's your take?
Well, I tell you what, you take a look at the numbers for Donald Trump, and they have just been stable no matter what. The resilience of the numbers has been impressive, whether it was the Russian collusion stuff, whether it was the pandemic, no matter what, he's got his number locked in there in Wisconsin. There's a floor, there's also a ceiling for him. These numbers really show that the partisanship is completely baked in when it comes to the subject of the president. Republicans strongly support him, Democrats strongly oppose him, and what's left is independents who are in this state pretty much splitting between him and Biden in the poll. In fact, what you see right now is that race is a dead heat. That's not a surprise to me. We've seen this movie before. Wisconsin is a 50-50 state. These races are going to be decided by 1%, apparently. And that's where we are right now. The race is within the margin of error between the two candidates. And I think that's what we're going to see in the fall. And, the numbers between Trump and Biden right now are eerily similar to what the polling showed for Trump and Clinton in 2016, with her having a 3-point lead headed into the final weeks of the race, and he got a win. So I think this is going to be an extraordinarily close race. And it's a movie we've seen before. It's going to be a nail biter in Wisconsin.
Well, it does seem that no matter how much Clorox the president suggests that people drink in order to enhance their health, he doesn't seem to drop. And that is a remarkable thing. Facts do not seem to matter in his base in that part of the Republican world. A little bit scary for me to see. But I would say that Biden is up by 3%. And I think the big difference between 4 years ago and now is that I think the Democratic base is far more motivated. I think it will be a base election. I think it will be who gets out their people more. I do think that to the extent that people have not made a decision to go for Donald Trump, they will not go for him in the fall. Now, that is today. And if the election were held today, I would say that Joe Biden would win. But we have still 5 months to go. Usually that is not very much. However, in this coronavirus pandemic situation, I think it's different. But hey, that wasn't the only thing in the Marquette poll. The other thing that was interesting there was how Tony Evers is doing versus how Donald Trump is doing in terms of their handling of the coronavirus pandemic. What's your take on that, Scott?
Well, I think what we saw in the poll is that the same results we see all over the country, which is that the governors seem to be doing better in the approval ratings than the president has been doing. I think that's because the president was too out there day after day after day, answering questions, really long press conferences. I think that wears out your welcome with people. The governors have sort of made their comments clear and sharp and then gotten off camera, which is probably the right answer there. I think with regards to Governor Evers, though, I'd be a little nervous about the decline in his numbers from the late March poll to the early May poll. I mean, he dropped 12 points in his numbers on the approval rating. They're both high. But I think the reason you're seeing the governor's numbers went down and the president's numbers went down between March and May. And the reason they both went down, I think people are getting weary. I think people are questioning the logic of some of the decisions that both the governor and the president have made. And so that's why I think people are ready for this thing to be over. And I think it's wearing on them, and it's lowering the numbers for approval for both of them.
Scott is so good, folks. I mean, you got to just love it when he talks here. The guy went down from 76 to 64. In this partisan environment, with 44% of the people saying, I support that president who wants me to drink Clorox, it's amazing that you can have a governor with 64% approval. Of course, that 76 was not going to be there. And by the way, it isn't just being on. I think Scott is right that I think Trump has overstayed his welcome, but that did not happen with Andrew Cuomo, who was doing the same daily briefing. He and his brother were named the top hunks or whatever by People magazine or something. The reality is it's actually what Donald Trump says when he's at these briefings. He should be at 80% popular. He's our president. He should be leading us through this, and it's not happening. if it were anybody other than Trump with the base that he has and how he gets that base, it would be off the charts. Richard Nixon, he would be competing with him for the lowest rating approvals elsewhere. However, what's really cool here is that Governor Evers and his quiet approach to be quiet, confident, communicating clearly is really doing well. To have 60-some% approval in the state of Wisconsin, given how divide and conquer has been the entire Republican strategy throughout this, and of course going back through Scott Walker, is absolutely amazing to me. And I have to give him props for his cool-headed actions and for his ability to kind of wind between and let people know he's for you. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. Tony Evers is there looking out for you. I'm amazed.
Yeah, actually, though, if you look at the Evers numbers, he's not winning over many Republicans. It's not a bipartisan number that he's getting there. He's got 90% support from Democrats. He does have strong support from independents, and he's losing Republicans by more than 2-1. So I'm not sure that that's a big bipartisan coalition there for the governor. And also that number, 64%, which is accurate, is also average. If you take a look at the numbers for governors around the country, that's where most of them are right now in this crisis. They're in the mid-60s.
That, I think, Scott, reflects how partisan this state is. If you go to New York, Republicans, they don't take this attitude. Minnesota, they don't take this attitude. Why? Because they realize that overall it's not going to help them. When you have a gerrymandered legislature and you got 60-some votes in the assembly, you don't have to pay attention to that. They attack Tony Evers on a daily basis, and all he does is stand up there and be strong. And I'll tell you what, for a state like Wisconsin with this level of partisanship, to be at 64% is unbelievable. I'll take those numbers to the bank any day. And he doesn't have Republicans. Well, I don't know if I want the Clorox group in my corner anyway.
Okay, enough name calling for this week. We'll see you next week.
See you next time.